Hey team, good morning. I want to take a couple of minutes and just chat about the all important pre qualification process. So let's talk a little bit about some logistics. First and foremost, realtor says, "Hey man, I've got a referral for you." And most realtors are going to ask you, or going to tell you, "Hey, I gave Bob Smith your phone number." Immediately at that moment say, in my experience, it's often better if you pass me their information as well so I can make sure to follow up with them, because as you know, sometimes borrowers like to procrastinate. So what I want you to do at that moment is seize control of the lead, get their information from the realtor, and reach out to that borrower and say, "Hey, realtor Sally gave me your phone number. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the home buying process." And an important thing, of course, is ask, "Do you guys have 10-15 minutes? Are you guys available to chit chat for just a moment?" The purpose of this preliminary phone call, I refer to it as the PAIL conversation or just a mortgage conversation. There's a couple things that you need to do. One, we are going to block any potential future objections. And what are those normal objections? I want to shop about a rate. I want to shop to make sure I have the right lender. I'm not sure about the process and I'm nervous, things like that. So we're going to block those objections to ensure that once that borrower starts working with you, your relationship is secure. So we use a format called PAIL, PAIL. And my recommendation is, to the greatest extent possible, open a screen on your computer with a Word document and just put PAIL right down the side. And under P is personal. Make sure you have the borrower's name, email address, phone number on that personal section. And I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes, but that's important. So Bob and Mary Smith, phone number, Bob's email address, Mary's email address. Then you're going to go in and just chit chat. Hey, Bob and Mary, I understand that you're looking at buying a house. What's the time frame that you want to be moved in by? When are you looking to actually move? And this is important because, guys, if they say, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, we're not really planning on moving until X, right? Until next year. We're just trying to start the process. Well, obviously, that's a little bit of a different conversation. What if they're relocating from New York? Are you going to get a bunch of information about their employment in New York? No, you just want to have a 2-year quick employment history, and then what's going to happen here in Florida when they move here or wherever they're moving to, right? So when are you moving? How about, do you know how much you are looking to spend? They may or may not know. If they don't know, then you might ask, is there a payment range that you would be most comfortable with? And we call that your comfort payment, right? So you're going to find out your comfort payment. And are there any co-borrowers or any people that are not maybe on the call that you would expect to possibly be on the loan? So that's P, just a little bit of background, what are you looking to buy? When are you looking to buy it? Who's buying it with you? And then you might ask them, is there anything that you have that could be a concern at this point? And they may say, something about the rate, or, well, we understand rates are moving up. And I'm glad you asked that. Guys, please remember this little blurb, this little script. Make it yours, make it your own, but here's how I want you to address rate. And you need to find a way during this conversation to have this little section, okay? So during your PAIL call, the first contact with the borrower, you need to have this conversation. Gosh, John and Mary, I'm glad you asked about rates. Listen, here's the secret that nobody in the industry will tell you. We all have the same rates. There's nobody who out there has a secret bucket of money. So every mortgage company, every bank, every lender essentially has the same rates on the same day with the same borrower's profile. Now, a lot of things affect the rate, like someone's credit score, their debt to income ratios, the property type, the occupancy status of the property, if they're buying it to live in, if they're buying it to rent out, that sort of thing. So those are things that can affect the rate, but they're essentially the same for everyone. So what does that mean, John and Mary? That means if you go to Bank of America today, if you go to Wells Fargo tomorrow, and you go to a third lender the next day, they're all going to tell you different rates, but on any given day, they all would have been essentially the same. But here's the real kicker. Interest rates change almost every single day. And as I mentioned, they're dependent on so many individual factors that if somebody says, yeah, Mary, your rate should be 5.5%, but they don't have a credit report, they don't have a full application, they don't have a property picked out, they don't know when you're planning on closing, guys, they're either making an error or they're lying to you. Because if we don't know how long until the closing date, if we don't have a property picked out, we can't tell you what the rate's going to be. Because again, they change daily until they're locked, and you can't lock without a property. So the important thing to remember, it's not the lender that you're working with, it's the loan officer that you're working with, because that loan officer is going to make recommendations to you about how to structure your loan and about when exactly to pull the trigger on locking your rate once you have a property. And just so that you know, I do that on a daily basis. I track the rates. I track the bond market, which is where mortgage rates come from. I have alerts set up where I receive notifications if there's anything bad happening in the market, so that I'm aware and I'm able to better counsel you on when to lock and on how to best structure your loan for the best rate. So the most important takeaway, listen, if you call somebody and they tell you their rates that day without having a credit card and a credit report and a full application, then you've got to ask yourself, are they telling you the truth? And unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of loan officers, they are going to, let's just say, stretch the truth or embellish a little bit in order to get business. So they may give you a quote without a rate lock. This is the base rate today for someone with 800 credit score, putting down 25% down payment on an owner-occupied house, and with no rate lock, because you don't necessarily know the difference. So when they tell you it's this other rate, you don't know that they're giving you bad information. So absolutely, it's the most important thing to us to make sure that you get the best possible rate. And that's why we are trained professionals, to ensure that we give you the very best advice in structuring your loan and when to lock your rate. And that's kind of how we manage your real estate portfolio as this transaction. So there were a few main points. Now, I won't give that 3 or 4 minute whole information to every borrower. I'm going to pick and choose, but key points, everybody's rates are the same. Key points, what matters is the loan officer that you're working with. Key points, if somebody's immediately quoting you a rate, they may be lying or embellishing or misstated, or maybe they're uninformed, all of which are scary alternatives. So those are at least the 3 things that you want to make sure. Everybody's rates are the same. Rates change daily. There's all these little variables that go into what makes an interest rate. So nobody can effectively tell you their rate, because it's not a set thing. It's not like we wake up in the morning and FHA is this rate, conventional is that rate. No, it's a table of rates. So whatever you have to do to properly communicate that to your borrower is very important. You really want to do that. And that's going to happen either before or during PAIL. Whenever that comes up, weave it into there. Okay, so the P we talked about. A, assets. John and Mary, who do you bank with? And what would you approximate is your ending balance? And then go kind of each account. Tell them you don't need them to open up their app on their phone, because if they start opening up their app on their phone, guess what? This is going to take too long. This whole PAIL conversation should be no more than 25 to 30 minutes. So, just tell them, hey, ballpark ending balances, more or less, John and Mary, round numbers. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. We're going to review bank statements as we move the process along. I'm just trying to get an idea. So if they have, after you've gotten their bank accounts, their brokerage accounts, their retirement accounts, if you've kind of gotten all of that stuff and you're not seeing enough money, So, if it's a $300,000 deal, I generally, if it's an FHA looking purchase, based on price range and that sort of thing, FHA, I generally like to see somewhere between 6 to 10% of the purchase price. So throw that in the back of your mind. If they've got $6,000 in the bank, I'm for sure going to say, hey, John and Mary, is there a possibility of, someone who would be willing to give you gift funds should the need arise? Now, this is a very sensitive time. So you're not going to say, hey, for sure you're going to need gift funds because you're broke. You don't know that. So, if you needed gift funds, is there somebody in your family member who would be, able to bless you with a gift of, of some funds towards the down payment or the closing costs, things like that. And you're going to, try to keep it comfortable for them, because it is a little bit awkward at that point. And usually I'll say, so do you have a rich Uncle Henry or someone like that who really wants to see you buy a house and is willing to help? And then, if you do, is he adopting? And I'm always available. So, something like that, to just kind of keep it casual, keep it comfortable. Always ask, after they've given you each of the accounts, given you the brokerage accounts, you asked about gift funds, do you have any other accounts? Do you have any other, ask about mattress money. Do you have any other funds that are maybe not deposited in the bank, maybe buried in a coffee can in the backyard or, in your home safe? Then if they do, you have to tell them, make sure to tell them this, is very important. Do not deposit those funds. Don't put them in the bank. We will talk to you about how to properly bring those funds into an account. And guys, I'll talk with you. There's a lot of different strategies that we can use to properly move that money in a way that doesn't create a problem. So the I in PAIL is income, and we're looking for a 2-year work history. So here's the deal, and for each borrower, of course, as you're asking, drill down into their current pay. Do you regularly receive overtime? Do you receive any sort of bonus? Do you receive any sort of commission? Any of those 3 things, overtime, bonus, or commission. If somebody receives overtime, bonus, and commission, we need them to have been in the same position for 2 years, number 1. And we need their current pay stubs, 30 days of their current pay stubs. We also need pay stubs, the last pay stub of the year from the 2 previous years. So your 2020 and your 2021 year-end pay stub. And you may want to remind them, when I say year-end pay stub, I'm talking about the one that has most of the year pay stub, not the one that started in 2020 and then rolled into 2021 that has just that one pay period. I want the one from 2020, it usually comes the last week of December, and it has pretty much your entire year, because John and Mary, I'm going to use that information to average your overtime, and that's how we have to calculate it. So it's very important. I don't care if they have $1,000 of current overtime on the current pay period. We need that 2+ year average to properly calculate their overtime or their bonus or their commission. So those are the same things. 2 years of in the same job. Okay, so if they're receiving overtime and they worked for XYZ Plumbing and now they moved to PDQ Plumbing, it's not going to fly. We're probably not going to be able to use their overtime. Okay, so keep that in mind. We need a 2-year history for overtime, bonus, or commission. Okay, and then as we move forward, you're going to ask, are there any gaps in your last 24 months? And make sure that you understand what they were, how long were they. If someone has a 6-month or more gap in their employment, and I'm talking FHA specifically, but if they have a 6-month or more gap in their employment, they need to be back at work for at least 6 months in order for that income to be valid. Now, the only time it would be an exception to that would be if they had some sort of medical excuse or things like that, and it would need to be, they would need to have been on FMLA or something like that. Okay, so those are obviously some exceptions, but document it, put it in your PAIL, get as much detail as you can. This isn't, PAIL is not just, hey, they're a plumber and they make $14 an hour. No, how many hours do they work on average? Do you normally work 40 hours a week? Okay, how long have you been a plumber? Okay, how long have you been with your current company? Hey, do you receive overtime? Things like that. Ask if they're W-2 or 1099, but how do you ask that? if you say, are you 1099 or W-2, most people don't necessarily even know. So do they take taxes out of your paycheck? And there are certain individuals that you definitely need to ask that for. If someone's a travel nurse, if someone does home health, a CNA, some contractors, plumbers, electricians, things like that. So those you always want to verify. Truck drivers, you always want to verify, are they 1099 or W-2? Okay. Truck drivers are another one. Treat it like bonus income because they get paid by the mile. So you need, unless they're on salary, so you need 2020, 2021 year-end pay stubs and 30 days of the current pay stubs. And then I'll walk you through calculating it, but that's the information that you need. Self-employment, if someone is self-employed, don't bother asking them how much they make. Just say, I'm going to need 2 years of personal and business tax returns, all pages, all schedules, clearly scanned to me. Guys, I've been doing this for long enough. I can promise you, you can't guesstimate self-employed income. No matter what they tell you, even if they say, no, I make a lot of money, it doesn't matter. We can't do a pre-qual with a verbal on a self-employed. We need to see the tax returns, okay? So that's income. Liabilities, of course, is next, and it's really liabilities and credit. So this is all one item, right? Liabilities, I'm going to establish their payments. And we're going to do this so that when we look at their income, we can run debt to income ratios manually using their approximate liabilities, assuming they're pretty accurate, right? So I'm going to start with car payment. I'm going to say, hey, do you have a car payment? Yeah, okay. Do you have another car payment, or do you only just have one? Because a lot of times married couples are both on each other's cars, so it may be on both credit reports, or people co-sign for somebody, and of course you always want to ask that. So do you have a car payment? Do you have a rooms to go or a furniture loan? Ask about student loans. And lately, of course, student loans have been deferred. So we need to ask, what's the balance on your student loans? They're not going to remember to tell you about their student loans because they've been deferred. So you're going to say, hey, do you have any student loans? And they're going to say, yeah, but I don't have to pay on them. Okay, perfect. What's the balance? Ballpark, estimate balance. And just write that down, write the balance down in your PAIL or type it down. Do you have any payment arrangements on student loans? Do you have any loans that are or were in forbearance? Have you co-signed for anybody? So get the estimated payment. So I would do it like this. Car one, $300, $14,000. I do it just like that. And I know, obviously, I'm looking $300 payment, $14,000 balance. Okay, so just kind of do it like that for each of them. Just scribble it down. You don't have to put, Amex. You can put credit cards. 4, balance 3,000, and then you're going to ask them, hey, between your 4 credit cards, what's your approximate minimum payment total? And then just add that in there. It's $300, $150, whatever it is. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to ask about their estimated credit score. And where did that come from? Is it from Credit Karma? Is it from myfico.com? And again, don't give them any commentary. Just say, whatever. I don't care if they say it's 400 points, if they say it's, 900 points, whatever it is, ask, document it. And I always put in parentheses. If they tell me Credit Karma, I'm going to put karma in parentheses next to the number. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we all know Credit Karma may be a little bit higher than real life. So I'm looking at that, and it's going to help me make determinations about what loan programs to potentially position the loan before we've pulled credit. Okay, so that's PAIL in a nutshell. What's next? You finished PAIL. You're going to glance at your PAIL, and you're going to say, okay, there's 3 additional normal, out of the norm documents. I have to have extra pay stubs or because they're commission. I have to have complete tax returns because they're self-employed. They have to talk to cousin Jimmy to see if he's going to give them a gift or whatever it is, right? So then I'm going to say, hey, John and Mary, let me confirm your email address. So I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to reconfirm the email address. And I'm going to say, I'm going to send you an online loan application, and I'm going to send you a document list. Okay? At that point, you can terminate your call, and or you can send the email at the same time if you're fast. And what I like to do is, if you use Outlook on your computer, you can program in signatures, and I'll show everybody how to do that at another time. And you can plug in your document list in the signatures. You can have self-employed document list. You can have standard document list, and then click. You open up the email. You paste in your link to your online loan application, which at Jet they use LexisNexis or Lexis, whatever it is, Simple Nexus, whatever the heck it's called, Simple Nexus. So we're going to use that link and send them or it could be jetdirectmortgage.com/Michael A. Would be another option. So whatever it is you're going to use, for your link, you're going to send them that link, paste in the document request, copy Xylet, z.abrew at jetdirectmortgage.com. So copy Xylet, and when you send the email, you're also going to ask them before you end the call, hey, John and Mary, when do you expect you'll be able to get to the online application? It'll take you about a half an hour at the most. And when do you expect you'll be able to start working on getting me those documents that I need? And of course, you want to highlight to them, especially if there's overtime or bonus or commission, hey, I need those pay stubs first. That's the most important thing. Then you're going to let Xylet know, hey, Xylet, John and Mary Smith are going to be doing their online application on Wednesday. Can you please follow up with them on Thursday? So you might send that to her in WhatsApp. She'll make a task for herself. And then what I would highly recommend you do is in your Google Drive, you're going to make a new folder for Smith, John and Mary, and you save that PAIL worksheet that you typed in during your phone conversation. You save it in there. And it should basically tell us the story, right? Under P, looking to purchase a new home, looking to refinance their existing home, looking to buy an investment property, whatever it is, put the basic information in there so that, imagine I don't know anything about your loan. I can open it up and say, okay, here's what they're doing. If you just shoot pay stubs to me, I have no idea what we're looking at. I don't have a clue. I don't know their 2-year history. I don't know anything. So put that in PAIL, enough information, and then starts, as those documents come in, Xylet or you put them in there in that same folder, and we'll start organizing it. Okay. I know this was a long video. I thank you so much for continuing to watch it. Today is May 10th. So anybody who shoots me a WhatsApp message today during May 10th, will get a Starbucks coffee gift card. Only today, only on May 10th, 2022. So if you watch this video today, shoot me a message and get your coffee. Okay? Peace out.